they have blocked OpenClaw. When I say they, Anthropic is basically announced that effective as of now, you can no longer use Claude Code with your OpenClaw subscription. And today we're going to explore what this really looks like, because there's some breaking information as of right now from actual Pete Steinberger, the inventor of OpenClaw. And there is actually a workaround prompt that you can see right here that you can put in, which is you would basically walk it through the models and say, I want to use the provider, which is Anthropic. But instead of doing the normal Claude Code OAuth token that you would set up, you can actually just set it up to use the actual CLI. And so if you're kind of trying to follow along and this kind of sounds a little bit strange to you, don't worry, we're going to be covering what this means for you. Your Claude subscription, if you've been using that with Claude Code, paying, $100 a month or $200 a month. And let's go ahead and explore some of these options because this is kind of breaking. So if you haven't been following recently, just as a quick primer, as you can see here, basically what has happened is that Boris Cherny, one of the person who actually maintains Claude Code, is actually the inventor of Claude Code, mentioned here that starting tomorrow at 12 o'clock Pacific time, that the subscriptions would no longer work. So as of right now, if you check your usage, like the way I'm using it with mine, if I go to settings here, and then from settings, basically what I'm going to go ahead and do is go to usage. I've been seeing that my Claude has now spent $6 just in actual usage credits. So that's kind of crazy because now I'm actually paying out of money. And if you are a subscriber, if you're currently paying $200 a month, you get $200 in credit, which is what you're going to get added to tier as well. And then you can send a monthly, you have to do this in order for it to work. If you're going to be doing it this way, you have to toggle the enable extra usage. And so they allow you to buy extra usage here if you, buy $50, $250, or $1,000 worth of chunks. So you're going to be paying the token price for using OpenClaw, and they can recognize that you're actually using an OpenClaw type of thing if you do it this way. But that's if you do it following their rules. And if you're Pete Steinberger, like an hour ago, he actually says, well, you can just do this, models auth provider -s Anthropic method CLI. And so that's something that we can kind of see if we can do some type of thing around here. So what I want to go ahead and do is kind of come up with the comments here and see what's going on. It says, I knew there would be a workaround. I love it. Yeah, I know the whole point of this sometimes is like to make sure that we keep you up to date. I'm also trying this new vertical live stream format. So if you're actually watching from a different platform, please allow me to adjust some of the comments because I do want some of the comments to show up and stuff. Big shout out to TechFriend, and they're not currently displaying correctly. So let me just go ahead and get this going, TechFriend. So that way everyone's comments and stuff shows up like right on stream. Here we go. Cool. Yeah, this is pretty cool actually, the way that my comments can kind of stream in on top. So yeah, we have this here. Cool. I'm really cool with this format. Are they with us in this room, right, Fernando? I don't know. When I say they, I think I mean Anthropic. I think I don't really know what's the deal here. Let's see if I can put this right here. Cool. All right. So I'm just kind of adjusting the stream here. This is kind of my first time doing both platforms. Will there be another workaround to block it? I actually don't know if there will be or not. I think as of right now, this is kind of the information that we're going by. Sort of the reason why I wanted to do this live stream, because before the stream and before I even opened Twitter, I found out that this was even a thing as far as like, this workaround, because I thought this was a really crazy, a workaround. I was like, man, this is insane if this is actually really true. In fact, I found some of my Discord members have actually come up with their own solutions, and that's kind of what I've been trying to play around with. So if you see some of the comments flying through, I'm basically trying to make sure that they're showing up on both sides of the screen, because currently they're not really showing up on both sides, and I'm trying to figure that out right now. I know that they're showing up here as well, and so that's what's up. Thank you so much for doing this stream and trying this out. I'm in your Discord, and the OpenClaw Discord is talking to people right now trying to figure this out, so appreciate it. Yeah, so I think the best thing right now, if you're watching the vertical stream, it's like right above me. Let me fix my resolution here as well, because I want to make sure I get the comments streaming across and making sure I get some of this stuff here. So if you guys have tried it, I'd be curious to know what your input is and kind of what the vibes are, if the vibes are pretty strong with this update and fix and stuff. To me, I'm going to go ahead and try it out as well, because whenever Pete Steinberger says something, you should probably check it out or do it. So that'd be what's up. What is the mouse that I'm using? I currently don't use a mouse. Actually, I just use a trackpad. So I'm just using the Apple trackpad. And let me just kind of see if I can kind of show you right here on stream. So if you're watching vertically, it's just the Apple trackpad. That's all I'm using. And if you're wondering about the keyboard that I'm using is basically the Knob 1 keyboard from it's Work Louder, I think is the name of the company. But this keyboard is just the magic. Oh, it feels so good. So let me go ahead and get some of the comments flying through. Having some issues with some of my comments flying on both platforms, but I don't know if I'm getting it to work here. Hey Ray, okay. So yeah, I'll have to figure out the comments thing for the verticals, but we'll get this figured out, okay? All right, so back to what's going on here. It looks real, but not good. Okay, so yeah, so I don't know. I'm gonna try this right now, and because we must YOLO everything. So what I'm gonna do is do a quick screen blur just to make sure I don't expose anything. And I'm just gonna go my Ghosty terminal. And so I'm gonna SSH into my Mac. And then from here, I should be able to see everything. And so if I do models auth login, and basically, let me see if I can kind of make this bigger here. Cool. So in order for me to do this, once I'm already into my OpenClaw type of thing, I just have to run this command that basically, Pete Steinberger recommended here. So it just says, this. So let's see if I can kind of put this up here. So if I do this command, theoretically, we should be able to models auth login provider and set the default. Okay, so what if I do that? Wait, whoops. Models auth login set default. Why does it not show up? Claude is removing OAuth access from OpenClaw. I think it's maybe provider Anthropic, maybe OpenClaw models. So is it just that? I don't really know. Let's see. Ghosty. I think so. Add OpenClaw. I thought so, yeah. OpenClaw. Okay, yeah, that looks right. All right, cool. Yep. Awesome. All right, Alexa with taste. CLI is not authenticated on this host. Run Claude auth login first and then rerun the setup. Okay, so I have to basically rerun the setup. Yeah, so Terrence, thank you so much for the comment there. So yeah, we have to basically, this is the command that you're gonna do. So he forgot to add the OpenClaw thing. Sorry, it was a second too late finding the chat. No, you're good, man. You have to add, okay, cool. Yeah. Just here to tell everyone to join Ray's Discord because it's the best show by far. And no, he's not paying me to say that. I am Lisa Ross. I will give you a free membership. Let's go, Lisa. I appreciate you. Definitely. Okay. So log into a Claude terminal and I don't need all that. Okay. Really enjoy watching you and waiting for your live stream. Yeah, man. So it looks like basically I have to, the CLI is not authenticated on that host for whatever reason. And I think what I did was I basically set up the auth token route. And so in the auth token route, what I ended up doing was I, went to the website and copied the auth token. And that's kind of how I established it, I think. So I'm going to see if I could do this and see what ends up happening. So I want to see a little bit of what this CLI method does, because I'm just really curious to see what happens. So if I go to OpenClaw, I'm actually just going to clone the repo. I'm just going to go straight up to the GitHub, clone the repo locally, and just start asking some questions while I get that set up, because I'm really curious to see a little bit more of how the code really works. So Ghosty, I'm going to just open up another local CD workspace, git clone. Cool. I'm just going to ask the questions. Ask all of the questions right now. So, damn, this is a big ass repo. Holy smokes. This thing takes forever to clone down. Okay. I wouldn't take the free membership worth every penny. Okay. Thank you so much, Lisa. You're the best. Hey, mate, do you use Visual Studio Code? No, I use Cursor for the IDE. It's just easier to click through and everything. What's for dinner? Damn, Claude reaches limit after 2 questions. Yeah, it just depends. Also, you can use Sonnet as well. I like having the 1 million token context window. That's really handy for me. So if I do Cursor, OpenClaw. Okay. OpenClaw. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So now what happens is I've cloned the entire repo from OpenClaw as of the main branch, and I'm just going to start asking it some of the questions. So one of the things I want to ask it is, I ran this method and for the CLI, and what does this do? So what I mean? So I ran this method for the CLI, And I'm wondering what it really does. And then so I'm going to change the agent to, I think, Opus. I'm going to try Composer 2. So Composer 2 is supposed to be really fast, and it's basically free on Cursor. So let's see what's up. Let me do this thing. And let me also make this a little bit bigger so it's easier to read. Maybe that's a little bit too big. Okay. So, and then let me also try, I'm going to try the new agent window thing because that's supposed to be really cool. So what we're going to do now is we're in here. Are we in the right repo? I have no clue. So confusing. Run cursor anywhere. Okay, so if I go to workspace, okay, /OpenClaw, okay. Okay, so this is cool. So we're trying the new cursor 3. This is the new UI. I have to update it. Okay, let me update. Okay. This is like updating Discord. You have to like update every 2 minutes, right? Pro tip, you could have just used DeepWiki and avoided cloning. Yeah, to be honest, I kind of wanted to have the repo locally though. I have it locally on my Mac Mini, but I don't have it here on this Mac. I replaced GitHub in the URL and place DeepWiki. Oh, that's cool. Let me take a look at that. So I could just go to deepwiki.com, I think, right? So yeah, TechFriend, if you guys don't follow him, definitely make sure you follow him because TechFriend is always like literally on the bleeding edge of everything and kind of knows what's going on. He's actually the one who put me on OpenClaw. And we met up during a live stream in person in San Francisco while we were walking. He's like, yo, have you heard of OpenClaw? And he was just going crazy about it. And so we went to like a picnic table and bench, and I was live streaming with Maddie, and then we sat down and did the whole live stream, setting it up there. I think at that time we set it up on AWS. So that was really insane, and that's kind of who I credit for checking out OpenClaw. So if you haven't had a chance, make sure you check out TechFriend because he's always got some sauce on here. So this DeepWiki thing is basically has the, I guess, I think it's just the entire repo that's already wikified. So that's how you can figure out like what's happening in the code and all these different things. So the thing that I had a question about is like, what does this command do? Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna say I ran this command. So I'm gonna literally just use a quick fast response and just see what it comes up with, right? All right, cool. Oh, this is really awesome. Hey, thanks for the sticker. It says keep it up. $5. Oh, thank you so much for the super chat. I definitely appreciate it. It has a little sticker and everything. Yeah, I'm trying out this new the update here on Ecamm Live. So I'm really glad that not only does your actual super sticker come up about, but also has the animations, which is really cool. Sharik the goat, what's going on? I'll share it. Okay, ask questions. Okay, hello friends, what's going on? I read the inference book cover to cover. I was weeds. I was in the weeds the whole time, but locked in. Yo, if y'all haven't had a chance to check out this book yet, actually fire. So this is from the author is Philip Kiley, and he's been doing inference engineering since the beginning of like ChatGPT. I mean, obviously way before that, but it has a lot of really cool stuff. And I'll read you some of this because I did an IRL stream at the NVIDIA GTC conference. So much fire in this book. And I'm actually going to be doing a giveaway because I got 2 copies. So stay tuned for that. I've been talking about the giveaway for a little while, but I'm actually going to try to see if I could do it at the end of the stream today. I know there's somebody who's been wanting this book so bad. So please do the giveaway, Inference Engineering. You know what? I feel like I should just give you the book. Are you on X, by the way? And so I'm going to see if I can pop up this thing. I can't, in this view, I can't pop up the comments, but I'm going to pop up the comments over here. So yeah, if you let me know what your X handle is, because I feel like I'm just gonna like send you this book. You know what I mean? Because you've been asking for like the most. I think you're the only one who's been asking for this book like the entire time. So yeah, anybody who has tips can be recommended in terms of documentation, Codebase, GitHub prompting. Okay, cool. Yeah, slide me a DM on X. Yeah, and then I'll get you hooked up. Send it over here. Yo, what's going on, man? I gotta lock in. Okay, so. This is cool. Hey, thank you so much, Tech Friend, for the recommendation. Looks like we got the DeepWiki thing going. So for the DeepWiki thing, I literally ran the same conversation, and I'm curious to see what Cursor is going to do. So like, how is Cursor going to handle the same situation, right? So if we go to OpenClaw, and we're going to use the Composer 2 fast, I'm going to ask the same question here, and I'm just curious to see what it pulls up with here in the new Cursor Glass thing, or the Cursor 3. So cursor 3 is this is the new interface, and you can manage a lot of projects and stuff here on the side. And it's going to start digging through the code base, and we're using the Composer 2 model. And I'm just super curious to kind of compare between the Composer 2 model and compare to like what DeepWiki did. I think this is indexed by Devon, and this is super fast. So we can view this entire thing as a code map. Yo, DeepWiki is crazy. Yo, man. Tech friend, bro, you are cooking, bro. Thank you so much for this, because this is the sauce right now. I feel like this is the sauce. Bro, look at this. Thank you, man. You are like, yeah, y'all gotta support Tech Friend right now. Like drop the follow on the Tech Friend, because he knows what's up, man. Okay, so the command migrates your OpenClaw setup to use the local Claude CLI as a backend for Anthropic models instead of the direct API calls. So what it does is it verifies the Claude CLI authentication. So the command first checks that the CLI is already authenticated on the gateway by running Claude auth status. And this is where it happens in the TypeScript code, which is basically right here. Yo, this DeepWiki thing is fire, bro. Look at this. It's not okay. So that's the error that I hit. It literally hit this function on the extensions, right? And so it switches the model selection. It changes your default model configuration to the CLI, for example, here. So this is kind of where it does it. So it goes from Claude Sonnet 4.6, now becomes Claude-CLI. Okay, so this is the actual model name that changes. It goes from Anthropic / this to Claude CLI. Ah, I see. Where is the Claude? So it goes from Anthropic, see this, okay. So Claude CLI is the message provider, best for single user gateway host that already has CLI installed. The path is the local Claude binary for the model inference instead of calling Anthropic API directly. So the Claude, let me just see if I can make the font bigger so that way it's sort of more readable, because I'm having some trouble like zooming in a little bit. That's mostly because of just the way that this site was designed, and that's okay. Okay, so now that we have a little bit more, I'm just gonna make it, okay, here. Okay, so this path uses the Claude binary for the model inference instead of calling the API directly. Oh, this is clever. So they've seen this coming for the past week. Okay, so this is making more sense. Okay, so I think Peter had this in the back of his hand and just kind of a catching up of what's going on, because there's been a lot that's going on right now. So if you have an Anthropic subscription and you've been using your Claude Code, OAuth token to basically fund your entire OpenClaw existence, because that's just the best way to use your $200 a month. If you haven't got banned yet, if you're doing that methodology, Anthropic says, hey, we don't mind you doing that now, but you're going to have to pay. And people are like, yo, what's going to be, what the heck is going on with that? And so there are methods now, and you can pay per token and so forth. And Anthropic's saying, well, we can give you a discount if you spend some money with us, if you prepay for tokens. If you pay up to $1,000 ahead of time for credits, you can get a 30% discount. So that $1,000 you basically pay with $700 worth. So I think that's an interesting way to do that. But apparently, Pete Steinberger is actually was in touch with the Anthropic folks earlier. And what ended up happening is that he tried to like negotiate with them, and he basically just only got like a 1 week delay. And they're just like, well, instead of turning this on right away, we're just going to wait a week. And so I guess he probably used that competitive angle, and because Pete has actually joined OpenAI as of February. And I don't know if you realize this, but also Anthropic copied his features, and they're still continuing to copy his features and so forth. So basically, that's kind of where like a little bit of this sort of drama comes back to. But at the end of the day, what's nice is maybe because he had that 1 week window, he was able to bake some of this stuff into the source code. So now we're just going to use, legally use the binary, which is the Claude CLI. And this is actually what he recommended here, right? He just says, just run this command. If you do OpenClaw models auth login and just do method CLI and set that as a default. And so right now what we're doing is kind of digging into the code a little bit and understanding what's really happening underneath the hood. So that way we're more informed as far as like, when I'm paying for something, I want to really understand what I'm getting into and what my subscription is actually doing. So on the recommendation of our good friend, Tech Friend, who's been pretty locked in as well, he's been kind of giving us a heads up that you can use this thing called DeepWiki. So just go to any GitHub repo and then just go ahead and start to query some of the stuff here. So if you want to see this exact query, I'm going to go ahead and just drop this right now into the chat so you can take a look. So theoretically, you should be able to click this little link in the live stream chat, and this will take you right there. So you can start asking your own questions and kind of following along as well. That way you don't really, I know if you're currently watching on the vertical stream, that all that text up there probably seems really tiny. And I do appreciate everyone who's currently watching vertically. I think we do have like 27 people watching vertically, which is really cool. And I also got some folks on YouTube as well. So appreciate that. Also appreciate people who are currently dropping the links on the Discord and all that stuff too. Okay. So I switched 5.4 Hermes Agent. Yeah, I'm going to get into the Hermes Agent stuff as well. So a little bit later in the stream, we're going to get this installed on my DGX Spark. I have my Spark locally, and then I'm going to go ahead and get this stuff set up. And the other thing we're going to also talk about today, a little bit later on, is going to be talking about this thing called CMUX, which I thought was really cool. So if you're familiar with terminal multiplexing or TMUX, you can run, a terminal and start to kick off these like processes in these like different sessions. And this is kind of like a nice UI to kind of organize everything, which is really, really cool. And so the reason why I bring this up is because one of the most viral moments just happened here on my live stream. I got two of the guys, the founders. It already has 21,000 views plus and growing. These guys did a clean room clone of Claude Code. So Claude Code, the most used coding agent probably in the world right now, or the most popular one. These guys literally did like an entire RALF loop series of things. And the way that they were able to do that is using the GPT models. And the way that they did that was because they actually had this thing called they made this thing called OMyCodex. And so when I say these guys, I don't mean to be like derogatory or anything. I actually want to give you a little bit more background. These guys one of them, his name is Bellman, and he's the one who came up with this framework here, and he's actually a quant trader. And this quant trader, both of these guys are based from Korea, and absolutely cracked for as far as a quant trader, and he wanted to distill down his orchestration that he was using for all of his quant trading, from research and all these different types of things. And he actually does not recommend to use LLMs for trading specifically because they're basically too slow. And so what he has done is there are other parts of quant trading that you do as far as kicking off these various loops of things. And he's distilled that down into this open source repo called OMyCodex. And so we're going to get into a little bit of this a little bit later in the stream as well, like how I can use this to set up my repo of things, because I have a thing that I've made called watch clause. And I want to see if I can use this orchestration to help me do this thing, because they were able to port the entirety of Claude Code, the CLI that allegedly had leaked. In 2 hours, they were able to port this entire thing into Python using this specific thing. So OMyCodex is what they actually used to do that thing. So they actually did not even have to look at the code at all. And in a clean room like cloning scenario, you have a team that will literally look through all the functions and all the code and write out all the specs and behavior and so forth. And then that team basically gets burned away and gone. And then the next team kind of looks at that specs and stuff and just goes and implement it. So they actually don't even have any of the source code at all. They're just implementing, the spec. And this is something that goes back in a lot of Silicon Valley history, going back to the early days even of AMD, where they would look at a spec and then build something. And that's kind of how it was born, because someone made the spec having worked at Intel. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on here drama-wise, but it's an interesting thing because it gave us some insight into people who are like basically elite level AI engineers and how they're able to do some of these sessions. And so I'm going to try to replicate that with an app that I'm currently working on. And I just want to give a big shout out to Phil Blanchett. Thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you for bringing the latest info in the news. I hope this works. Yes. Yeah. So this is an interesting thing. So if you haven't had a chance to install CMUX, go ahead and install it. Or if you haven't had a chance to install TMUX, install, you should be able to get that installed for you. So it's pretty fast one-line install, I think. Let's see if I can go back to TMUX. So CMUX is what you would install. I think, is it just sudo make install? I don't even know. To be honest, I think you could just go to cmux.com and just install that. That'll be the easiest way for you, because you could just download the Mac app. And there's like a GitHub thing. So go ahead and get that installed while you're working at it. take a look at Hermes Agent. And the other thing we're going to look at is going to be the Gemma 4 models as well a little bit later in the stream, because there are two different models. One is a mixture of experts, which is going to use the 4 billion parameters here for kind of like inferencing, and it should be really, really fast. The dense model is going to be applied for those people who have those nice GPUs and a bunch of memory. We're going to talk a little bit about those and kind of, I have a little diagram here that kind of explains the differences between what a dense model is and why it's so slow when you're doing all the calculations with matrix math versus like a mixture of experts when you only have a couple different, areas for the experts to actually do the calculations from. So this will kind of make probably better sense in your head, because whenever you're doing like matrix math multiplications, you have to actually, whenever it's going through every single layer of those weights, you see all the calculations that have to be done. And so whenever you're computing those weights, obviously it takes more compute to do that. Where if you have a mixture of experts, you basically only use 4 of 16. And it turns out that the output is only 97% as good. So if you can get that much efficiency from doing this type of thing, it's really, really interesting. And there's we don't know exactly what the trade-offs are. So I'm going to want to continue to explore some of that stuff. And so, yeah, we have a lot of different things. Also, my buddy Coriolis has this thing called Easy Prox we're going to try to get into. Quite a lot of stuff, a lot of different promises for the stream. And I don't know how far we'll get, but we'll get as far as we can. So I just kind of want to give you a heads up. If you're just joining in the stream right now, there's a pretty packed stream. If you're going to watch later on, there's going to be a video on demand. So you're going to be able to see some of those timestamps. And also, as far as editing, I'm trying to get some of the stuff edited so I can get some of these snippets of these topics down into smaller, chunkable, watchable moments. So appreciate everyone for the support and your patience and everything. So yeah, just a lot going on here. So back on the thing. So if you're kind of catching up here, as of now, this is what's going on. You basically have to pay for using your OpenClaw with, Anthropic's services. But Pete Steinberger says like, hey, nah, you can, but as long as you have CLI, Claude Code CLI, you're low-key good. And so I'm just inspecting the code and understanding what is actually happening. So it looks like the path uses the Claude binary for model inference instead of just calling the Anthropic API directly, which is what it was doing before, using the OAuth token. And so OpenClaw treats it as a CLI backend provider with model references like this. So that's pretty cool. And so the way that it works is that OpenClaw launches Claude-P. So that's going to be the printing the output, and it basically Claude running in headless mode. And it's going to output the JSON format in JSON on the gateway host. The first turn sends a session UUID, and the follow-up turns reuse the stored cloud session versus resume session ID. So your chat messages still go through the normal OpenClaw message pipeline, but the actual model reply is produced via the CLI. And so my questions here and my follow-up questions are going to be, am I going to burn more tokens this way, or is it still going to be as token efficient? Because it looks like probably my thinking is that a lot of this will be cached because it looks like it sends a UUID or a session ID. So if you're passing in the session ID back and forth, you're just going to keep using the existing cached, existing messages that have been cached by Anthropic, and therefore you won't be penalized as much, is my thinking. I'm just kind of thinking out loud here. I have no clue. I'm just kind of, as an engineer, first principles thinking like, is this going to be expensive or not? So that's a question I have in my head. I want to see if I can get this answered as well. So while that's going and we're going to review, I'm going to say, does this follow the best practices or... I'm actually going to say it a different way. Do you know if this is going to be able to take advantage of Anthropic's caching capability? I see a session ID passed, and does it just keep appending to that session ID, or does it just keep launching new headless Claude Opus sessions? Okay, so we're going to get that answered pretty soon. So I'm stoked. I wanted to learn ever since you told. Okay, yeah. Set your computer free. Okay, what's going on? I think you're going to end up saving tokens because Claude Code would be better optimized. Yeah. Oh, I see you're literally talking about that. Yeah. I'm using Claude Code as an orchestrator. It can still trigger. Okay. Let's see. For me, okay, cool. CMUX is a terminal and TMUX is a terminal multiplexer. Those are different. Got it. Okay. Cool. All right. So what's happening now is it's saying that the Claude CLI session caching and resume flow. So this traces the OpenClaw leverages Claude CLI session management for caching and conversation continuity. So the key locations include session ID generation, resume model detection, and session reuse validation. So that's cool. That's actually really good news. So OpenClaw generates a unique session ID for the first Claude CLI request, which is kind of what session he's seen here. And then it configures a command with session parameters. So basically this function call execute prepared CLI run is the entry point. And so if we take a look at that here, we can see that in this TypeScript file. And this is kind of where it's going to get the prepared CLI context, right? So that's basically grabbing all your memory files, tool files, and all the other cool stuff and kind of running them in here for the session. And so this defines that there. And then we're going to go, it says check session availability in the arguments. And we're going to resolve the session ID here. This is really, really handy. Okay. So, and then if there is this existing session ID, because it's like, hey, this is a conversation you're already having in your Telegram, you're passing back and forth that new session ID, right? And it's gonna either, if there isn't one, it's gonna generate a new one, and then it's gonna build the CLI arguments, obviously, for that. And then from there, it's gonna go ahead and resume configuration and command switching. So if there is a resume, it's gonna do -p output format stream JSON verbose. Okay, so here's the resume arguments. So it's going to do stream JSON, verbose, permission mode, bypass permission, resume. Okay, so if it's going to run a -s resume, and it's going to give it the session ID. So as long as we pass that in, we should be good. When I say we, I mean the maintainers of OpenClaw, which is what's been happening. That's awesome. And so there's a select argument set is here. It's replace the session ID, and then reuse validation and cache invalidations. This is the part I'm really interested here. So OpenClaw validates whether an existing Claude CLI session can be reused based on the configuration changes. Okay, cool. So the hash of the prompt is here. So we have a hash. Oh, okay. So prepared creates a hash of the extra system prompt to detect changes that would invalidate cache session. Okay, so this is really important. Okay, so extra system hash, CLI, okay. And then, okay. Let's see, validate session consistency, validate session consistency. So returns the auth profile if it changed, returns a system prompt if it changed, return MCP if it changed, and then the log session invalidation. Okay, bind session, okay, session timeout optimization for cache resources, resolve the timeout, select profile. Okay, so what's the timeout? Okay, I don't think it sets the timeout. Use resume. So, okay, the timeout profiles are defined globally. So a fresh session is basically 3 minutes, 3 to 10 minutes, and then the resume session is 1 to 3 minutes. Okay, that's interesting. So persistence and recovery. So the CLI agent basically runs here, and then it executes a prepared CLI run, and then try existing session ID if it's expired, and then handle session expiration. We'll just kind of renew its session. Build CLI run, and so this is there. Session store integration, retrieve stored session binding. Cool. Okay, cool. So it does do this stuff that we're thinking, which is pretty awesome. So that actually makes a lot of sense. So it just runs the CLI headless. It'll send the request, and then it'll build the requests basically using the execute, I think, commands, and it'll have these little parameters. I think here's some of the helpers that it will use as well. So yeah, and it'll pass in the right parameters in the session CLI. Okay, cool. This is really, really awesome. Okay, so we found out that you can switch your, if you have a Claude Code subscription, if you're already paying $200 a month, and you want to continue to use that, right? Because that will just use up into your existing budget. All you have to do is run OpenClaw space models auth login -- provider Anthropic method CLI set default. And this is from Pete Steinberger. And if you want to get this exact command, I'm going to go ahead and just copy this link here and put it into the chat as well. So that way you can kind of see it there. So you should be able to see it in the chat. So I've sent it all across. So you should be able to see that. So if you click that there, that'll take you to this tweet, and you can kind of copy that there. And so that'll basically, if you've been using your OAuth, you can use your $200 a month plan. And yeah, that's kind of cool. So yeah, the TLDR is, if you have been paying for a Claude Code subscription, you're going to be charged extra usage. You could use it if you toggle on the extra usage, and this is what I did, right? And Anthropic's giving you a couple $100 worth of credit to do that. But if you don't want to use up all these credits, the simple thing is just to click this link here, which will take you to what Pete Steinberger wrote here. And this is where you can just copy this. So in order for you to do this, you have to make sure you're installed via this, the command line with this. So you basically just run this command here. So this exactly like this. Let me put this in the chat as well. So that way you can run this. So yeah, if you want to run it, you just run this command here. Make sure you're signed into the CLI. I'm in an SSH session, so I'm probably going to just do this while I'm off the stream. I don't want to leak any keys. And then once you go through that methodology, you should be set going forward. You're going to be using your Claude Code subscription, and it does follow all the caching principles and normal things that you would have, as opposed to like, thinking that cache and stuff is going to be invalidated. Obviously, there could be bugs and different things, so make sure you do report them if you do have any issues or if you're like chewing through usage and stuff like that. And also be aware that I think that methodology is currently allowed according to their terms of services. That's exactly what they said is if you run, Claude-P, which is the headless mode, you could do this. So if you have a coding agent that you're using and it wants to call Claude Code and you run it in that, Claude-P and then give it a prompt, it's gonna, follow this is following the exact principles that they say that is currently usable. So you're not like doing anything illegal by doing this manner. This is actually following their guidelines and so forth. So do you tie your own OpenClaw with your Droid? No, Droid is actually separate. I actually use the ACP stuff to hand off tasks from my OpenClaw because I don't want my OpenClaw coding a lot. I actually want it more to hand off either that to Droid or Cursor or whoever's like Codex and stuff that I'm using. But the next one I'm going to try to do is like OMyCodex. So that's OMyCodex, which would be really cool. So talk about Gemma 4. That's going to be coming later, man. That's probably either later or I might do a dedicated stream for that because I just realized we're already like 36 minutes in and stuff like that. So Hermes Agent is my opinion is better than OpenClaw. Yeah, but I think what the difference is between Hermes and OpenClaw is just like the soul and like everything that Anthropic does already for the OpenClaw to make OpenClaw feel like it's really, really like personal, type of thing. So that's what we have there. So that's that in a nutshell, TLDR. So make sure you get that set up, and then you'll be running like a champ here. So the other thing that I wanted to maybe get set up was maybe I'll kick off this plan. So if you aren't familiar, yeah, damn, it's live. Yeah, it's actually live. This is not a pre-recorded video. Yeah. That's what's kind of funny. Did you test ClawHip and OMyCodex? Can you break down everything that was explained in the last interview? So I actually have a dedicated video for this and I might load it up. Actually, let me see if I could play this right now because I do have like a Final Cut preview and it's just the edited preview that I did. Let me see if I can get this loaded up and see if I can play it live because that'd be kind of cool. Because I have to go use the bathroom and I'd rather have you watch that video of something that I made versus, so if you're here in the stream, you actually get a special treat from me for doing this. So let me go ahead and see if I could find it real quick here because I'm almost done it. And this will be published tomorrow. So this will have like effects and all this cool stuff. But as of now, let's see if I can kind of load this up here. Does this load up here? Yo, okay, cool. So this is my video this is basically OMyCodex. And this is what it's about. I don't even have a title yet, but I don't know how this is going to play out, but we're going to try to see if we can watch this while I go use the restroom and stuff like that. So if I play the video, does the movie play? No, it doesn't play. Okay, so how can I get the audio from this movie into here? Yes. I think what I want to do is not movie. Sound effects Safari? No? Okay. Add not Roadcaster, but movie? No? Sound effects? Because if I play it through here, oh man, it doesn't play. Okay. QuickTime Player. I think what I'll do is I will try to see. Oh, I know why. It's because Safari selected. I'm going to do QuickTime Player so that way you can hear it. Perfect. Okay, so this now should play the audio. Engineers just rewrote Claude code from scratch on a plane, and they kicked off an agentic loop over Telegram And 2 hours later, they had a working clean implementation, meaning none of the original code was copied. And so they rebuilt the whole thing based on what it does and not how it was written. I just got off a live stream with them, and what's actually underneath is way bigger than what anyone is talking about online right now. So here's the background. This repo, this clean rewrite, became the fastest growing repo to hit 100,000 stars in a single day. And that's a world record. It's gone viral for a lot of different reasons. But the part that people aren't really talking about is how they were able to pull this off. And these are not just random developers. Bellman is a quant trader. He's a very senior engineer, and he builds orchestration systems to automate research and trading workflows. Sigrid is actually heading back to Vancouver for school, and they're both from Korea. They're probably some of the most top agentic coders in the world right now. For most people, this type of rewrite would actually take teams of engineers months of work. And even then, they may only get part of the way there. These two did the first pass in 2 hours in Python. And right now, people are spending days just trying to understand the original source code that got leaked. And these guys didn't even need it. So the question is, what are they actually using? And the answer is the repo that almost no one is paying attention to, and it's called OMyCodex. Yo, I just found out that you said the sound is really bad. All right, you guys have to wait for the real video then. Yeah, that sucks that the sound is choppy. You know why? It's because I'm probably live streaming to a whole bunch of places and stuff. And I don't know if I can I change it here? So yeah, I'll probably have to change it in the future. Dang, bummer. Okay, so yeah, I was hoping I can get something going on here, but yeah, that's what's up. But it's okay. So yeah, audio is cracking. Oh, yeah, that's a bummer. Okay, I appreciate anyone who's got was going to kind of checking it out. But yeah, well, stay tuned because it's going to be really fire, and it'll have edits and all that stuff. And I'm going to have like a little bit more of like the layout of what the repos are. And so right now we're just going to play. All right, so let's go ahead and start playing a little bit with this CMUX stuff and try to get this set up. So it looks like they have a Mac OS app. So let's go ahead and see if we could download that. So this is going to download this thing. Because this was recommended from Sigrid. And so Sigrid is currently he's in Korea, and he's currently studying in Vancouver right now. So in Vancouver, he's actually right now in San Francisco, actually of all places. And so let's see, CMUX. Open, cool. Okay. All right, so I've never used this before, but he recommended it to me. And basically, I think it's a clone of Ghosty and CMUX. So if I do CMUX, does it work? Okay. Cool. And if I just close this, am I cool? Yes. Close. Okay. So if I do new workspace, new window. Okay. So I have a terminal window here. If I do CMUX, then I'm in here, I think. And if I do, okay. So now that I have this loaded up, what I want to do is then now just go and load I already have OMyCodex installed. And so one of the what we have to do here is, I already did OMX setup. I'm going to do OMX Mad Max High. So if I go back to CMUX, I should be able to just go like this. Yes. Perfect. Okay. So I want to use it to user one. Okay. Cool. Okay. Do you trust the contents? Yes. All right, let's go. Oh, I know why. Because I'm not in the repo that I'm supposed to be. Ha, of course. CD workspace / watch clause. Okay, my bad. And then command, how about clear? Okay. Then I could just do this. Perfect. All right, so now that I'm in here, basically I've launched Codex through OMX Mad Max High. And then the thing that I want to do is I want to do deep interview. So deep interview. And so my buddy Coriolis has done a lot of this in the Discord. So I want to see if I could find this prompt because he told me that there's a prompt that he did that we should be doing. So I'm gonna just do @Coriolis. Let's see, Corey, where is he? Is it just in here? I think it's under OMyCodex, right? Let's see. Okay, so he says, use this as a planning roadmap. Specifically state that this is documentation task only. Okay, so I think that's what we're gonna do. Documentation task only. Use this. So for those who aren't familiar, what I have done already is, let me see if I can go to the Claude session and go to watch clause. Okay, so in here, what I'm going to do, and the whole reason why I want this thing is because I made a very, very comprehensive workflow. Let's see, watch clause. Building, okay, as a watch app. Here we go. So I'm going to make a watch app that will basically control your OpenClaw, but it won't only control your OpenClaw. You can run Claude Code and a whole bunch of things. This was inspired, obviously, from the Gary Tan thing with Claude Code, wanting Claude Code on his wrist. And I was like, you know, I think there could be a better interface here for this type of thing. And I had a conversation to set up the basically the entire plan for this and what this could look like. So this is actually my prototype. So these are going to be all of your sessions that you have for not only for Telegram, but you also have stuff for not like, what was it going to say, Haiku and stuff, but you're going to have, actually, here's the latest version. Here it is. Here we go. Okay. So you'll be able to have like your OpenClaws that you monitor. You'll have your Codex things you want to monitor, cursors or anything like that. So if I want to monitor what's going on with Claude Code, I can see what models selected and the percentages, and I could see all the different conversations that are happening here. And if I need to steer it in a different direction, I can hit the microphone. And if I want to see what's going on with my Codex session, I could just see it all from one place. And so this is really cool because whenever you design for a watch style interface first, you really focus on the clarity for things. And you're going to be focusing a lot on what's the problem that I'm solving and how can I do it in the fewest clicks as possible. Whenever you have a product that involves your wrist, you only have like a couple seconds to keep it up before your wrist gets tired. So if you can do that action in a couple seconds, that's a really good framework for thinking for how your user interfaces should actually come together. And so with this prototype and things that you have here, this is going to be probably like the best way to do this type of thing. And so what's nice about it is I also have another interface here that basically allows me to talk to the repo. So I can do whatever I want to do and then send it off, and it's going to go ahead and kind of take that command and say, let me cook, fam, you know, and then it'll take that command and like basically start steering the model. And I could just tap here and I can go to my next thing. So I could just keep tapping to the repos and kind of steer them in the direction for wherever I want to go, and then they'll go that way. And then if I go here and I want to go ahead and stop all my sessions, I can stop everything and it kills all the different processes. So one simple way to do this is actually really awesome because now I can put this in a form factor like the glasses, and I can have a really simple interface. I was also using the Reality G2 glasses, and that's going to be, that's a way that I'm able to control them as well. And so I came up with an architecture that will work well for something like this. And it's like based off of a plugin architecture. So in my first spec here, I can kind of show you a little bit of kind of what I was thinking. So it was just going to have the architecture, like I've already spelled out a lot of this stuff. So where OMyOpenClaw is going to come into, or where my OpenCodex is going to come into effect is basically taking this and actually implementing everything in a RALF loop, completely thorough, set up skills, build the skills, and do all that cool stuff because I wanted to figure it all out. Because a lot of it's already spelled out here, but I just do need a little bit more clarification for where I'm going before we really get into everything there. So that was kind of the high level prototype with even the UI that I was thinking as well in this conversation, and then like what things were going to look like. So in my conversations, thinking from like an architecture perspective, I thought it would be really good to have a plugin related architecture. So that way changes to Claude Code or changes to Codex don't really break the build. They're kind of their own thing. And then I can have maintainers maintain their own specs for if they want to add their own plugin without blocking the build for the entire, user interface. And so I was also going to have an actual drop down that would come up from the very top here. So you can have a menu bar item that would just kind of drop down. And it's basically the same thing that you're seeing in the watch, but just in this fashion here. So this makes it really easy to kind of do everything you're trying to do. I know it's like the simplest interfaces are always the best. And that's kind of where I'm going with this. So this should work with any type of small screen. And so if you aren't familiar yet, I want to show you something really, really cool. I got my hands on one of these things called the Pi. these are like these little displays, like these are little pie stuff. So where this is all really going is, let me see if I can show you without like blowing up everything. But this is an actual connector piece here for the, I don't know if you can kind of see this. So this is like a little Pi board. And then I have the Pi sugar thing, which is going to be the actual power. I think this is the power unit. And then this is the actual display. So this has a display, let's see if I can kind of show you this. The display, the power, the button, and the microphone. So I can speak to this, and this will basically control that whole thing that you see on the watch, but also be done on this. And the part of the reason why I'm making this interface is that not only is it going to be a watch app, it can be a menu bar item. It can be something that comes up on the top as far as where the notch is, but it could also be controlled by hardware like this. This whole hardware build probably costs $60, maybe less than that. These are just Pi components. So this is Pi sugar, the power. This is a little board that connects everything via USB. This is the display. This is the Bluetooth. This is the, display, speaker, microphone, RGB, LED, and then the mouse button. That's it. So that's going to be everything in here. So that's kind of where this is going. There's a lot of cool stuff that's going in parallel. And I'm super excited to show you because this is kind of, one of many things that I'm trying to build here. But this is really, really fun because this is about to get super crazy. So I basically have defined a lot of stuff here already. And this is a perfect thing to start to kind of hand off to our OMyCodex. So yeah, crazy, right? Yeah. W product. I'm telling you, bro, by the time this is done, this is going to be like, people don't even know what's going to hit them. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and go like, I'm trying to go as crazy as my folks are from Korea. I'm trying to match that energy right now. I'm trying to like really lock it in. And so I'm at the beginner level, but we're gonna make this happen. We're gonna make this pop right now. So let's go ahead. Okay, so now that I'm in PWG, okay, cool. Oh, no. Okay. So let me show you really quick what the repo looks like. If I pop up in cursor and then I go into watch clause. So I'm gonna go back to the traditional. Oh no. Okay, cool. So here's cursor, and so if I close this here, cursor, where are you? Okay. New window. Okay. So here we are, watch clause. Okay. So as of now, I have the like sort of a specced out thing here that defines pretty much everything that I was explaining to you. So this has a web UI, a Mac OS menu bar, a notch, a native watchOS app, a CLI, and then this is the architecture that we're using. So no matter what the apps are, it's going to talk into the WatchClaw server. And then the server is going to host the plugins. So for Claude Code, OpenClaw, Codex, and so forth. And so each of these types of things can have their own sessions that are running, and then they can run independently and start to kind of look up protocols and do the different things. So the whole thing, and the reason why I'm using OMyCodex is because all of this stuff can be done in parallel. All the research can be done in parallel. All the building for each of those components can be done in parallel. My spec is actually kind of simple because there's a plugin per agent, and I've kind of defined what they look like here. And I'm letting the agents kind of do the autonomy. And I spent a lot of time thinking about this architecture so it can actually be very agent forward. The longest part was really prompting back and forth with the agents to understand really what I want and understand like how I'm able to build something like this. And so part of successful agentic engineering is spending that time up front to get very clear or even get closer to what you want to build. And sometimes a prototype is helpful. But in my case, with a lot of software development experience, I've kind of seen a lot of different patterns, and I'm just trying this out. I have no clue if it's going to work or not, right? I've done a basic like end-to-end with one type of thing, but this is kind of where we're going to be going. I'm going to have an NPM package as well, so that way we'll have different things going on, like the CLI, the SDK. I'm going to have like a plugin template so people can take this, and this could be taken by the community. All of this is going to be open source, by the way, so this is going to be just available to everyone to build on top of. Because I really want the adoption, right? So I want people to control their codecs. It doesn't matter what provider you're using. I want you to control them through this whole interface here. So port 1337, you can serve this through Tailscale on your local machine and everything like that. But you can see it's a really simple spec, right? Here's a plugin interface. This is basically the canon for everything. So my interface is watch clause. I'm going to be tracking the name color label. I might expand this out, but we're going to keep it simple because all we're going to do is just start, stop, and then monitor the health of whatever you're monitoring on your watch. I'm going to be able to track the different session IDs, the history, send, cancel. This basically describes everything of what my app does just in this interface, right? So, and an interface basically just defines, like how one system works, and then that can be expanded out in different shapes depending on whatever you're working on underneath. So, I'll be blasting Gangnam Style in the background. Yeah, right. So this is kind of what I'm looking at. I have a Swift protocol. It's basically the same thing. It looks exactly the same, basically low-key, same functions. And then here's the stuff for the watch clause plugin for the watch and stuff like that. It's the TypeScript Swift. I don't even have to know how to code in any of these languages. This is what we're gonna do. I used Cursor to help me do some research initially for the hook events. So this is kind of where it did some like multi-thread research, and then it added into my plan for this final spec. So I would know what types of things are available to be async or not, and then what type of stuff would be blocking and how long we should hold some of these types of things in our head. So here's the phase 1, phase 2 types of things and so forth. It's pretty well spelled out. I think this is fairly comprehensive. And so I'm going to, this is about 1,259 lines. And so I have a lot of references to a lot of the stuff that I want to do here. And so now watch click. Okay, so I'm just keeping that in mind. And so I'm keeping that plus what Coriolis says to use this as a planning roadmap. And so the reason why we're doing this right now, especially for OMyCodex, is because with OMyCodex, we're going to basically start handing off this architecture plan, and the architecture plan is really our source of truth. And I want to start handing them off to lots of these different agents that can start taking some of these pieces and then start breaking them down into smaller pieces, so then they could start working and doing research and then doing those implementations basically in parallel. So hopefully by the end of today, I've been able to use 1 billion tokens on my OpenAI Codex plan. So I actually signed up for the ChatGPT Pro account, I think a couple days ago. Spend the $200. And so I really want to push this to the limits. It's going to be really fun to see this model in action. And let me go ahead and see if I could take a sip. The water just hits different here, Yeah, that's what's up. So sounds okay for me. Okay. So use this planning roadmap. And this is a documentation only task. Okay, so I'm gonna do deep interview. So hashtag or $ deep interview tab. Use this as a planning roadmap. I think he says use this as a planning roadmap, as this is a documentation only task. To review and eventually implement watch. Okay, perfect. Okay, so what I did was I loaded up CMUX. I just put TMUX. I probably don't even have to do that, but I just did that just in case. I went into my project, watch clause, where I have this spec already laid out. And I was just showing you what it looked like in Markdown. And so currently in the CMUX app, I think the reason why I do this is because I could track all of the different terminal multiplexing sessions in here. And this is going to allow me to do that. And so once I do that, I'm going to the $ deep interview here. And let me make this font a little bit bigger so some of the folks on the vertical live stream can also see this as well. And so let's just go ahead and kick this off now. And we're going to go ahead and get working here. So I'm using GPT 5.4 high. I probably should just use the medium one, but it's okay because what's going to happen now is once it starts to do the orchestration, it will kick off different terminals with different models. So it may use a smaller model. It could even use the Spark plan to go really, really fast. And so the goal of this whole thing is like to try to build the software, right? I spent more time building the specs because the specs really do matter for this type of operation. If my buddies in Korea can basically do a full Claude code clone in 2 hours with Python, the most important thing is the specs and defining what that looks like in that shape. So I feel like this is going to be our thing. It would be so crazy if we get this whole build out in 2 hours. Like that would just be ridiculous, right? So, okay. Funny. Yeah. What's going on with merch? I'm a little bit behind the chat. If you ain't spending 1 billion tokens, you aren't even vibe coding. That's what's up. That's what's That's what we do around here. That's what we do. Okay. Oh, my codex is something else. I need to protect the crews. We need to protect the crew. Wait, is this Oh My Codex? Yes, this is Oh My Codex. And we're kicking off different terminal windows and all that craziness. So we're about to go crazy up in here, right? So yeah, Oh My Codex is crazy. I'm using CMUX on my termux and different models. Okay, yeah. No one can say 2 hours is enough time for the hackathon. Yeah, bro. Yeah, if I'm cooking this thing, yeah, that's what's up. Okay, so I found the repo at the root, plus earlier spec drafts and a minimal watch clause scaffold. So I'm treating this as a brownfield documentation planning task. Threshold 20% ambiguity. Current ambiguity is 100%. Okay, so outcome is ambiguity at 100%. Okay, cool, got it. I found the final spec and related artifacts already in the repo. For this documentation only phase, what the exact deliverable should mark the work as successful before any implementation begins? That's a really great question. I think what exact deliverable? What I want to do is I want to be able to use the OMyCodex framework here to make sure that we have this spec to reference from. And there are still pieces of information in this spec that need to be dialed in with further research. This was just the initial idea and the layout for what something like this could look like. The HTML file that's attached kind of shows the user interaction because there are different interactions that will happen. And each of these interactions, especially with Claude Code, Codex, even OpenClaw, have different specs that we need to implement. So we made a lot of assumptions here, and we want to basically start to nail these down before any of the code is implemented. So by the time we're implementing code, we have a really great researched and detailed type of task to hand off to those agents. It may not be one specific plan, but it could just be a set of instructions so that each agent, when they take the task, then can take that to do the research to make sure that whatever plugin that they're working with has the right specs. And then I think the other thing we're going to do is saying we're going to hand it off to RALF to approve and ensure the safest implementation path, and then team to execute it. Yeah. From there, we're going to use the RALF loop to basically make sure that we can implement it safely and then hand that off to the teams so that the teams can do the work they need to do. Okay, cool. That's a massive prompt thing, but it's kind of where I'm kind of getting to this type of thing here. So this orchestration should be really interesting. And so we're using our Codex plan right now with a $200 a month plan. And we're going to see how much usage we can burn through, right? So hopefully I can get 1 billion tokens in today. Yeah, bro, it's cooking. Have you tried any model? No, I have not. What do you think? I love cooking now. I'm cooking right now. It's too much setup with tools, with SpecWave. Okay, cool. Game. Okay, so progress after round 1 is the intent clarity, outcome clarity, scope clarity, constraint clarity, success criteria, and brownfield clarity. Readiness gates. There's no goals, no pressure. Okay. So for this phase, what should be explicitly not due yet? So documentation research stays tight and doesn't drift premature to design and push it. Explicitly not due yet. Explicitly don't write any code. We need to focus on making sure we can at least do one path successfully and have it work end to end as our first goal. And then from then we can expand out. This will prove that our initial architecture implementation is the right way to do what we're doing. So I'm kind of scoping it down in some ways. So I'm just trying to make sure that one path is going to work end to end. And so that we're going to let the model choose basically one of those paths and see if it can actually do that type of testing. So we'll see. Dang. Let's go. Can you guys feel the AGI yet? All right, so pressure testing the key assumption. When you say one end-to-end path should prove the architecture, which specific first path do you want to be treated as the proving path? And what parts of this shape may OMX decide on its own versus requiring your own confirmation? Okay. You're damn. Okay. High IQs in the building. This is serious stuff. Okay. So one end-to-end path. Which specific first path do you want to be treated as the proving path? I think the first path end to end could probably be the one that deals with maybe testing it through the web, because that can mostly be CLI based, right? We're just querying and checking for things and making sure that things come back. And we already have an HTML prototype that kind of shows what we have there. So that seems like the natural first path, just to make sure that our assumptions for the protocols are what we think they are. And I feel like our first provider could be Codex, because that's what we're using now too. And we know this is already working. Cool. I did not. I'm using Whisperflow, and I've been using Whisperflow for over a year now, and I really like them. I have a link maybe in the description, but if you haven't had a chance to, it does support the channel. So https://rvr.me/whisper whisper. Yeah. So it's just an affiliate link. I use them and I love them so much. And the affiliate link gives me like a small percentage, and I think it gives you like a month free or something like that in the pro account. But like out of all the different things that I could do, it's just much easier for someone else to kind of handle this infrastructure for me. They have an iOS app. They now have an Android app as well. And so they're SOC2 compliance, they have all this cool stuff that's going on. So I really feel pretty safe that everything's okay. And the thing that I find much like really cool as opposed to doing my own implementation is that if you're doing your own Whisper implementation, you have to like take screenshots of the screen, parse stuff out, understand different things. And like, I don't want it to be my full-time job. So I just paid like $10 a month or something like that. Or I think it's even less than that, but now if you prepay for the year. So yeah, it's really, really good. They keep making improvements, and my tokens are now way expensive to continue to build on that. So it's like, it's just cheaper to pay for that for me. So that's what's up. You can get the MVP for a Whisperflow going like in, like one's Claude subplan or something like that. But to continue to maintain it and do all the things that you need to do to keep it like a really good professional app, especially getting like an iOS app working, having it work in all these different areas becomes a pain in the ass. So it quickly gets really complex. So the first MVP is really exciting, but then from then on out, you're kind of in trouble. Not you're kind of in trouble, but it just takes a lot of effort. So I just realized that here we go. The folks who are on stream may not be able to see all the screens. Okay, so what do we have here? For this Codex web proving path, what decisions may OMX make without asking you again? So choosing the exact research structure, reconciling unclear sections into open questions, improving. Okay. What decisions may OMX make again? It's new again. So choosing the exact research structure. Yeah. So I feel like that OMX can have full autonomy. We have EXA for the MCP that it can use for doing some of this research, and they should be able to go through and use EXA code to look up stuff like that. Other GitHub repos who may be implementing similar things, we may have it look for documentation and unclear sections. So it should basically have full autonomy to do this, whatever it needs to do. And I don't really want to be too hands-on on this. Cool. Sweet. Awesome. Cool. Uh-oh. Someone's calling. I wonder where everything is okay. Okay, so now that it's working, it's going to do its thing. So for those who are just following along, we're basically using this thing called OMyCodex. And so OMyCodex is basically it's an orchestrator in a lot of ways. It's basically an agentic runtime that we're currently now in the deep interview phase. So this is a skill that gets invoked so that it can ask me some questions. I've already set up the architecture plan for this massive app that I'm going to do. And the goal is to go ahead and create a RALF plan. And so once we create the RALF plan, we can hand that off to our team and just continue a RALF loop. And so the RALF loop is basically a simple loop that'll keep acting on our behalf. But what's cool about this whole thing is that basically the creator, who goes by the name of Bellman, is the person who kind of was able to kind of come up with this loop because he's actually a quant trader. So he uses a lot of this for his research tasks and all the other things that he does in this. And this guy is like one of the top agentic coders in the world, and has basically put this out there. And so we're kind of testing this out live. And I'm just trying to be a little bit on their level. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to get closer to where we're at. So I just signed up for the ChatGPT Pro account just so I can try this out because I want to go ham on this and let this kick off while I do some other things too. So it's asking me some more steps. So what must exist at the end of this documentation for, say, this is ready for RALF and then teams, for example, validated Codex web proving path, plugins for examples. Yeah. I think we should just be able to get a validated Codex to web proving path along with any new protocol or stuff that we didn't understand. We made a lot of assumptions on the protocol to make sure we get clear on those so that we can do the implementation and also have some validators to test the implementation as well to make sure it's working for the acceptance criteria. Cool. Interesting. The README says they use Codex directly, not the OMyCodex CLI. But then how is it going to launch the different CMUX sessions? Because it's not going to automatically launch them by themselves. Yeah. Yeah. Claude blocked people from using their Claude code subscriptions with OpenClaw. So now you have to use the Claude API if you want to use. No, buddy, that's incorrect information. So as of now, you can actually use your CLI. And Pete Steinberger actually talked about this. And earlier in the stream, we were kind of going over this. So yeah, that's no longer true. So what are people using now? So yeah, just to kind of catch you up, all this is going. So what people are using now. So, if you turn on the extra usage in your Claude code plan, you can basically start getting billed for that. And as of now, already use like $6 just having it on and saying hello and doing some stuff. But Pete Steinberger has already come out and says, just use OpenClaw space models auth login provider Anthropic and set the method to CLI and make sure you set that as a default. And so we were doing some investigation and started to actually dig through the code itself to understand what's actually happening in the code. So if you want to go ahead and watch that a little bit later on, you can actually go back. At the end of this live stream, this will turn into a video on demand. I have a process that kicks off and sets the timestamps for this entire thing. But you can go to deepwiki.com and then just put in the GitHub repo for OpenClaw and just ask about what's happening. But basically, it just launches the binary, which is the Claude code binary, does a -p, and then does whatever you're doing. And it actually sets a session ID so that it takes advantage of the caching. So that way you're not sending new requests and just burning through tons of your usage. And so I find that it's really, nicely, it's a simple implementation. It's not that complicated. And that's kind of what it's doing in the nutshell. So if you think that you can no longer use it, that's actually not true anymore. You can still use it, and you can even still use your Claude code sub. And they've architected it in a way that you can do that. And this is what Pete's basically saying right here. So that's what's up. And if you want to check that out, that's kind of what we got there. And right now we're basically playing around with OMyCodex. And so we're trying to see what's going on here. So that's what's up. So yeah, it's not necessarily a workaround. So I came here for my OpenClaw randomly telling me LLM request extra usage out of nowhere, even though I'm at 4% for this 5-hour period. Interesting. He also said it's not coded yet, so it seems to be not on main, but on beta since January, for the CLI. Well, that's the code that I pulled down from main, so it's already there. I don't understand. Anthropic failed again. It's way over 12 p.m., but login max plan still works. Just tested with any model. So if you have the toggle that's turned on for extra usage, you should see your billing coming in. That's what's happening for me right now. You'll be blown away when you try $team and RALF after the deep interview. I can't, I can't wait to try this right now. I'm really, really curious about trying this. So yeah, that's what's up. All right. So what does it say now? What happened with it? Okay. So let's see. So it did the research. It wrote everything down. And it says the artifacts it created was OMX context, interviews, and specs. Okay. And so it says this phase is the documentation research only. First, providing path is Codex to web CLI oriented flow. So we have this as part of the thing here. The recommended handoff is $RALF. And then the suggested input is RALF plan, and then plan this. Okay, so what if I do this? So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste. Wait, can I just copy it? Okay, this is the right step. Okay, so I do RALF plan. RAL plan. Is that correct? Hold on. $RAL. Okay. RALF plan. Alias for plan consensus. Oh, okay. So if I just do plan consensus this. Oh, okay, got it. So if I just paste that in, MD. So now I'm going to do the consensus planning. So it's going to take my plan. It's going to basically just do a RALF plan. And then you want RALF and teams to inherit a stronger, narrower proving path first belief. Okay, so now it's basically updated the plan. So starting a consensus direct planning from deep interview spec, I'll ground the plan in the repository evidence and draft the initial consensus plan, then run sequential architect critique reviews before finalizing the plan artifact. I don't know if I'm ready for this, bro. This is about to... Should we just check our ChatGPT usage right now? Because this thing's about to burn itself down. Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, wow. I already got my OpenClaw back working with this. So adding the CLI command, Chelsea, you're able to get that. That's awesome. So glad you're able to get that. So cool. You got the CLI working. The $, yeah. I'm about to get an NVIDIA DGX Spark. Are you still happy with yours? Going to run the Gemma 4. So I don't know how fast we're going to run that. And that's kind of why I wanted to get the Hermes thing installed. So I think let's go ahead and get that installed while this is currently going. So right now, Codex is basically doing its thing. It's going to do this plan. So let's check up back on this in a little bit because I want to see if I can get to, I'm just going to go to Claude real quick. So I think I have a DGX Spark project. DGX Spark. So I have a whole environment that's set up. This tells everything about GB10, the whole Blackwell thing that I have. So as of April 2026, there's been a lot of things that changed. So you may have to use the EXA code to help you do some research here. But Google just released Gemma 4, GEMMA 4 models. And there's a mixture of experts model, and there's also a dense model. It's likely that we're going to use the mixture of experts model on my DGX Spark. And I'm wondering if there's also an MVFP4 variant as well that we can use. I kind of want to understand what the tokens per second are, what the setup is going to look like, how we get that configured and running on my Spark. And we'll need your help to help me figure this out. So I want to send this command to Claude. And in parallel, I want to see if I can SSH into my Spark. So I can do ghosty. And so I'm going to see if I can exit here. Okay, so SSH Spark, I think. So this is my Spark that's running locally on my host. And then PWD. Cool, sweet. So this is my DGX Spark, and it's currently running here. And I want to see if I can get the model running locally. So what was I going to do? I'm blanking out. I don't know why. Okay, so, oh, I think I know what I was going to do. I was just going to SSH in via, oh, I wanted to run Hermes. Okay, so here we go. SSH Spark. And then, okay, so today, right now, what we're going to do is get the Hermes stuff installed. So if you haven't run Hermes Agent, this is going to be a pretty fun one to do. So we're just going to really just copy this command, and we should be able to get the Hermes Agent installed on my Spark. So this is us installing it live. And so in here, we're just going to go through the installer. I just copied and pasted it, and it's doing its thing. So yeah, there's a lot going on. I know there's a lot. I appreciate everyone's patience here. So I just want to make sure I got this all locked in. So we got ourselves locked in. So I'm just going to make sure that The view is okay. Okay, cool. So in order for us to install, it says detected Linux Ubuntu, checking our package manager. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Sudo is only needed on the optional system package. Install ripgrep for faster file shares. Yes, please. Sudo password. I don't remember what my sudo password is, but I think I'm going to look it up using my passwords thing. So if I go in here, I should be able to see what's going on. So for those who are wondering what's going on, we're installing an agent called the Hermes Agent. And so that agent is going to basically be what people are calling is like the OpenClaw killer. And if you see anyone who says this is the OpenClaw killer, you got to block them. Like, this is kind of really dumb. You can use these two agents in parallel, so you don't have to use one or the other. That type of framing is actually not really helpful, especially in the educational space. So the whole point of everything is to, these are tools. So you want to learn how to use the tools and have strengths for tools here. One of the strengths of what a Hermes agent can do for us is the ability for it to actually like work with open models. And so as we see here, we're actually having the agent currently go through the install right now. So I have the passwords that were set up. I was just able to use my thing to get it installed. And so we're currently installing Hermes agents, and Hermes agent is going to allow us to, I'm hoping that I can just ask the Hermes agent on my actual Spark itself to get itself configured and kind of learn about everything that's set up in there. Typically, I would use, cursor. So I would have cursor and I would SSH into the box, and then I would run cursor to, do all the stuff because I can see all the files. I can see everything that's happening. And cursor agent's really good at searching and everything like that. So that's kind of why I would do that. But now since I have Hermes agent, why don't I just use something like that to get it all set up and installed? So what was the trick to make it work with Claude and OpenClaw again? So in order to do that, you'd have to basically go to here and run this command. So let's see if I can kind of copy this and then paste. So you would just basically do this OpenClaw space models. So you would run basically this command. So if all you have to do is just run OpenClaw models auth login, like that exact thing right there, and then set it to the default, and that's what you're going to do to get it running. So I'm trying to do that, figure out run on Studio. Okay. Oh, the Mac Studio or something? Yeah. Yeah, send me a DM. Okay, yeah. Gemma 436B. Oh, you don't need a flagship. Yeah, that's what I'm really curious about here, and we'll see what's going to be going on. So we'll see what's up. So yeah, we're basically installing the agent here, and this has a lot of strengths and stuff. And I'm going to be making some dedicated content around this. And so that I do have some videos that are going to be coming out related to this topic. So we're going to be doing that. Let me see if I can kind of get this working here. Thank you for everyone's patience, because I'm still kind of figuring out what the live stream setup is going to look like for, this type of thing on vertical video. So right now, my vertical video stuff is freaking out with my agents. Try to see if I can get everything okay. Okay. Oh, please bear with me. Okay, cool. Yeah, some of the stuff is a little bit off. Okay, so everything's so slow. But I don't know if you realize this. I'm gonna do this real quick. Activity. My machine is literally like burning down right now because I'm running OMyCodex, and it's probably eating up all my CPU and GPU. So I have a Mac with 128 gigabytes of memory. I'm currently using 90 gigabytes, and I have some stuff left. I'm currently live streaming on horizontal. I'm also live streaming on vertical video. So if you're scrolling on YouTube, you'll see both, and you can select and you'll actually have the right display. I'm streaming to like 4 other platforms as well, X, YouTube, and so forth. And this thing is just literally like eating my stuff, because I didn't realize that like not only am I running this and doing everything, I'm also, let's see if I can kind of do this here. So yeah, this thing is also running here too. So we're going to catch up with that plan. So we have a couple things in parallel, and my little doggy's kind of having a little problem here. So, okay, so Hermes setup wizard here. We have, we'll walk you through the model provider, and you choose your AI provider and model. So let me see if I can get this thing set up here. Okay, CMUX. Okay. Oh, shoot. Ghosty. Perfect. Okay, so Hermes is set up here. Why not OMX on Spark right now? Because I just have it set up on this Mac. We'll walk you through the model provider so you can choose your AI provider model, terminal backend, so where your agent runs the commands, and the agent settings like iteration, compression, and so forth. Messaging platforms, Telegram, Discord, and tools. So I'm going to go ahead and enter to start. And so what I can use is the Open Router key. So set an API key of Open Router. This is currently what's active. There's 100 models pay per use, or use the portal subscription. I already have a Codex plan, so I can probably use that, which would be super cool. I think that would be probably what I use. And so all I have to do is open this type of thing and then enter my device URL. So what I'm going to do is I'll probably like walk through the setup again and say login canceled. I'll say I'll skip for now. And so what happens is like I don't want to like leak any keys and stuff. And this is usually kind of what happens for like a live stream setup is like if I start doing this and I start to get some keys configured and doing all that stuff, then what ends up happening is that then like I'll have to set this up again. So what I'm going to do from here on forward is probably just going to have like a dedicated video that you can watch that will basically kind of walk you through the setup. So if you want to stay tuned, make sure you stay subscribed because I'm going to have a video that will just walk you through this process. I'm currently setting up on a DGX Spark, but that same setup command can be run on your Mac. It can be run on your PC, anything that you want to run this type of thing on. But the reason why I'm running it on the Spark is because I want to get the new Gemma model set up. And so for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I can get into that a little bit later for sure. So that way we can kind of play around with it because I want to have like at least something set up so that I can show you a little bit. And this is kind of their portal. They have some models here, but you can also use third-party models with their subscription. And you're just paying, you know, they're basically kind of like an open router type of thing that they do provide. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that you can do with the Hermes agent. And we're going to get into that. So one of the things we talked about getting set up was the Gamma model. And we're going to take a look at our research task and see what happened earlier. So sometimes you think you're talking to Claude, but it's a fallback. Running Hermes on local or VPS. Hermes is going to run on my Hermes is going to be running on a DGX Spark. So no VPS for me. Why not OMX on Spark? Because I'm running it on local because my machine's running on local, but eventually it'll be somewhere else. Let me research Gemma models. Okay, so Gemma dropped the total parameters with 3.8 active and 1.128 fine-grained experts with top 8 routing. So this one is for your Spark. It's 49 gigabytes for the BF16. So that's the full point precisions. And it fits comfortably in your 128 gigabyte unified memory. Okay, so it's only a 49 gigabyte file. And that's because the 3.8 params, billion params get read per token. And it's tailor-made for your bandwidth constraint LPDDR5X. And if we use the 31B model from Gemma, because there's two different model types, so it's really confusing if you're kind of trying to figure out which one you need to use, whether it's the 26B or the 31B. And you just think, oh, why don't I just bump it up a notch? It's just 26 versus 31. More is better, right? It's just really a matter of like how these models are configured, whether they're, these what they call like mixture of experts or dense. And so let's kind of just quickly get into that real quick because I have a little diagram for y'all to help you understand what this really means for us. So first of all, it's like, why are some models fast and slow? And in this diagram here, whenever you're basically sending something to like a dense model, what they're saying Gamma 4 31B, you're seeing that in the neural network, as it's passing through, when you send a token, has to pass through this layer and this next layer and has to do all these calculations for all the permutations that need to happen. So this is the embedding. This is the layer 1, 2, 3, and so forth all the way through to the output. So you're going to get like probably 12 tokens a second if you have like 2 Sparks hooked up or something like that. And so whenever you do like a mixture of experts, what you end up doing is you're going to have the first thing go through the input, and then you're going to go through the embedding, and then the next layer is going to be the routing layer. So at this point, you're only going to go here, and then the router is going to send you to an expert. And then the expert's then going to hand that off to, some combined type of like, type of thing there for the expert, for the blocks. And then it calculates the output. So what does that look like as far as like, matrix math and all this crazy stuff here? And the way that that looks like, if you kind of go through the matrix math, is typically when you're doing these calculations by hand, or calculators are doing their things, it's matrix multiplication. So the tokens are this is your input. So this is exactly what your prompt is, what you're saying, and everything you're sending to the system. And so this is the model itself with the weights and everything that's combined. And you have to literally do all this matrix math complication stuff just to get the actual output that you desire. And so for these types of things, you're going to need massive amounts of compute for a dense type of model. So they found out if you have a mixture of experts model, this is kind of where some of the breakthroughs started happening. I think it was in the GPT-4 models, or some of the bigger models, or GPT-3 or something like that, is that if you start to just have these mixtures of experts, the timetables multiplication is way, way smaller. So you only need to do 4 of the calculations out of the 16 here, and then your output is actually as good as 97%. So that's why mixture of experts models, you'll see them, they'll say like 3B or however many parameters that they are for this expert model. So you're having the same input prompt, all these tokens, but you're sending them through these like different routes of this model. And in essence, you're sort of shortcutting everything else, which actually, saves you compute, saves you lots of things. And so in terms of like memory speed, you're going to have a lot faster everything because you're not doing the same numbers of calculations. And so there is a different shape as far as like, that's just one part of it as far as like sending inference into things. The other part that you're going to have problems with is in terms of like, well, I see all these people posting stuff between the MacBook, between like a GPU graphics card and like a Spark. And so the thing that matters here is going to just be your memory bandwidth. So the Spark has a huge pool of memory. So that's 128 gigs. And you're like, great, it should be really fast, right? I can hold this dense model. It should be really cool. But it does have more than a 5090. So a 5090 has that type of thing. But basically the pipe in which the information has to flow through with all these calculations is much narrower. So imagine like a DGX Spark, it's like sipping through a straw, versus like a 5090, you're like a fire hose of calculations that are going through. And so while it can hold bigger models, it actually reads them slowly. So you have this big thing, and now you're just sipping on a straw to get everything out that you need to get out, right? So that's why the mixtures of experts, if you're dealing more with a unified memory and like a smaller memory bandwidth, you're probably going to want a mixture of experts, and this is kind of where the Spark sits. And as you go up in terms of graphics cards like 4090, 5090s, and so forth, you have like the widest pipe. So that's 1,792 gigabytes per second on a RTX 5090. So like that's the difference in terms of these types of things. And this is why people quantize the models to bring them down to get them into the memory available on the graphics card. So on RTX 6000 will probably get you 96 gigabytes. And with the model like that, you can fit like a nice big dense model on it, and it'll do those calculations because you have a really wide memory pipe, and you just let that thing flow through the thing. So it's a really interesting way of trying to talk about this, and it's very, very, very confusing, especially when you see a lot of people post different things of the different graphics cards that are running, because I've wanted to actually try to see if I can get multiple Sparks and all these cool things stacked up together. But at the end of the day, you're really only as fast as the memory bandwidth or whatever the thing that you have. So if you have a lot of fast things that are chained together, and then one thing's really slow, that you're only going to go as fast as like that guy that's really slow. So the slow guy is going to really hold you up, because all of these guys have done the calculations, and now they're just waiting for that slow guy to finish its thing before it can move to the next step, and before it can move to the next step. So, stream is choppy. Oh man, thanks a bunch for the super chat. Yeah, so I think the stream is choppy right now because I have a lot that's going on in my background that's processing between all these different systems and stuff. So I'm going to try to see if I can kind of get this going. It's cutting out. No. Okay. Is it still choppy? Too much power. Yeah. Fix now. Okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah, I was hoping that something would be happening here. So my system seems to have calmed down. Maybe because this has calmed down too. I don't know what's going on. Yeah. Okay, we're good. Okay, cool. Let's see. Activity. Let's see. Am I good? Yeah, Ecamm Live is still eating up a bunch of GPU. Do I have max power? Yeah, I do have max power. Okay. Okay. So let's just kind of move into that. Okay. So that's that in a nutshell. And let me see if I can get the model downloaded, but I just wanted to see. So it's likely that we're going to have to use the 26B mixture of experts, right? Because the dense model is not going to work too well for my NVIDIA. So NVIDIA says that they do have a dense MV-FP4, so this is officially released, and it's quantized with the model optimizer ready for VLLM inference. However, this is designed for multi-GPU data center setups, and that serve command does this. Okay, so a community quantization exists from this one, and it actually quantizes on the DGX Spark. However, there's a catch. The experts mapping doesn't correctly handle MV-FP4 scale keys for a mixture of epochs, requiring a patched Gemma 4 PY. This is bleeding edge. A PR upstream VLM is forthcoming. So skip MV-FP4 for now. The MOE BF16 is already fast enough for your Spark. Okay, cool. So as far as what we're going to have here, we're going to have about 23 tokens per second for the mixture of experts BF16. If I get a smaller quantization of this, I could probably get a faster tokens per second. So that's going to be pretty slow for us, but that's okay. If I have two Sparks set up and I get them together, I'll probably have a faster decode speed. Interesting. So the dual Spark hits 57 tokens per second, faster than the AWQ 4-bit quantized. How to set this up on your Spark. Okay, cool. So, wow. Your current VLM. Okay, want me to put together. Okay, so interesting. NVM is kind of buffering again. Stream is good for now. Okay, yeah. Interesting. So I think. So is there. I only have one Spark, so will it be better to get a quantized version of this? I'm curious if somebody has quantized this already, because it sounds like somebody has an MV-FP4 one for the Spark, which could make it run a lot faster, but it still is in like active development. And if I do get it loaded on my Spark, it may run a little too slow. Which is kind of why I was looking at this Fireworks AI one, because like Fireworks will allow me to deploy an H200, but it'll cost me $24 for the hour, and I get 4 GPUs. And this will basically scale to 0 in like 60 minutes. So this is really interesting option, and that can run the dense model on it. So that way I don't have to spend like 10K for a GPU. I don't need an RTX 4000. I could just use the Gemma 31B here on my own like deployment, which would be kind of cool. And I can kind of play around with the model there, which would be kind of fun. But I don't know. Like, I really don't know. I'm just kind of messing around here because I really do want to do local stuff too. So, okay. Is there still too much buffering? Is there still a lot of stream buffering? I really don't know. Yeah. Catch up with you. Okay. I don't really know what's going on. Yeah. Okay, great question. The actuary continues. No, BF16 is faster for MOE. Oh, okay, here's why. The whole point of MOE is at 3.8 billion parameters. Okay, so let me just get the, let me just load up cursor. And here we have the new window. I'm going to pop up a new window here. I'm going to basically SSH into my, my actual DGX Spark here. Let's see here. I want, oh, I know why. Okay. Maybe this is not the one. Let's see. New window. Okay, so I want to do the Spark. Okay. Cool. So I'm going to try to see if I can load up my Spark. So I'm trying to see right now, I'm trying to SSH into my Spark. And what I want to do is basically hand off a task so I can just go ahead and download the Gemma 4 model locally. And we just can try it out. It would be really interesting to try it out and see what we can do there. So I'm going to try to see if I can do that right now. Go into my little Spark folder and see what we got here. So as of last time, what I was getting set up was the Qwen text-to-speech stuff. And I was upgrading that here. And so, yeah, one of the reasons why I like to use like, you know, You can use VS Code or whatever, but I was using Cursor here because of the nice GUI interface. And in this GUI interface, it allows you to kind of like, see, ask the questions, but see everything that you got going on here. So I'm going to just go into here and say, I'm going to use the Opus model 4.6. Okay. I want to get set up with the Gemma 4 model MOE on this machine. Please use parallel agents to do research as you are running this on the DGX Spark. I think I have a Spark project. Yeah. Has some of the context for you. Some of it may be out of date as we are in April 2026. So there could be some wrong assumptions. Use parallel agents to dig in. Here is some existing research that I ran. So I'm going to give it research. Perfect. Okay. And okay, I can add Hugging Face. Oh, that's new. Okay. Okay. So then I'm just going to let it do its thing. Do it thing. Okay. Cool. Now the loud hammer. Oh, the loud hammer sound. That was the washing machine. It has a problem. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so it's now reading through my different configurations. I made a project folder that basically kind of tells it a little bit about my setup in OpenClaw. So this is something that I typically had for, I had this for this is currently running inside of my Opus Claude projects. So Claude projects has context. That way I don't have to keep repeating what my setup is and what specific types of things I have here. This is just basically for what's going on and running on my Spark. So basically telling it to check what's actually running in my system and basically update this. And this is kind of what I was trying to figure out for what can fit for my DGX Spark here. So as of right now, that's what's up. I wouldn't quantize Gemma unless it was turbo quant. Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense because it's like a crazy skill to be able to do this right now. Yeah. So check the Atlas container. I forgot I'm running Atlas. Yeah, so I'm trying to run Atlas, which is a version that would allow me to run, what am I running? I forget. There's a lot of stuff that's running on here. I just don't remember. Yeah. Okay, here. Yes. Yeah, the Spark is great for running multiple models. Yeah, I have a text-to-speech model. I have, you can see I'm running GLM 4.7 Flash. I'm running the Quen 330B, A3B, the Llama 3.3, the DeepSeek distilled one as well for reasoning, and the Nematron Nano. But not all of them are loading. So depending on what's happening, it'll spin it up and it'll take a little while sometimes to do the warm up. Yeah. Okay. There's no issue. I'd love to have the ability to run large models on the Spark, but it's painfully slow. Yes. I will test with smaller models or swing it over to my RTX 3090. You're lucky you have one of those RTX 3090s, man. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, because there's like so many more optimizations now for those 3090s than there were before. It's really weird that older hardware is now like becoming much more valuable. And it's like, usually it's kind of the opposite, right? Like the older it is, the worse. But like there's all the software optimizations just keep like pumping through. So this is pretty cool. So we're basically watching it do all these commands on my system to check what's currently installed. And this is kind of what's nice whenever you hand your tasks off to like an agentic engineer like this. It will check all my downloaded models and whatever I have served and what's going on. So yeah, the stuff that I already have downloaded are dang, I have a lot of stuff in here. Your Spark is heavily loaded. Atlas container consuming 92 gigs running what looks like Quen. Plus Whisper X, Falcor DB, Qdront, and only 2 gigs free. So let me dig deeper and research the Gemma 4 parallel. So yeah, it's going to dig deeper here. I have a lot going on, so it's probably going to ask me some more questions in terms of like what things do I want to turn off and what things do I want to leave on and so forth. So yeah. So is there a workaround or is Claude Code dead for OpenClaw? Yeah, so for those folks who are just coming in, let's go ahead and catch you up a little bit on the news. So there is a workaround, and it's just as simple as running this one command. So if I just do the OpenClaw command, let me just do this here. Models. So this is the command that you want to run. So if you run this command here, this is the command you'll use to basically, and this is what Pete's stamp. You have to make sure you add OpenClaw in front of it, but this is the one that you'd want to use here. And so that'll basically get you to set it the CLI so that you can use the CLI instead of the OAuth token, and that should be sufficient for whatever you're running. And so otherwise, you'd have to turn on extra usage and then pay for usage. And if you wanted to pay for usage, they give you a discount of up to 30% if you're spending $1,000 in credits. So if you just spend $50, you're going to basically save 10%. So that's kind of where they're working at here. And that's kind of the TLDR. And at the same time, basically, I'm running this thing separately from that, so that's kind of what it is right there. And as of now, we're trying to see if we can get the Gemma models installed right now in OMyCodex. Okay. And what's going on right now? So current state of your Spark. The memory has 105 gigabytes of 119 U's. The Atlas container, which is my Qwen 3.5 35B A3, this is a 3 billion parameter thing, is consuming 92 gigs. The TS server uses 4 gigabytes, and we must stop Atlas to fit the Gemma 4 model. So there's an existing environment. Here's the Hugging Face for the weights and stuff. And the recommended path is the official Gemma image is the cleanest path. It bundles right with the VLM build, transformers, and all the Gemma 4 attention notches. Okay, cool, perfect. So stop the Atlas container. It's now going to pull. Cool. So now it's actually doing its thing. So yeah, I basically handed this off to Cursor, and Cursor via the SSH session with Opus is going to now, it's downloading the models. I actually wrote a Hugging Face script, by the way. I think this will basically allow it to download the stuff super fast. So this is a Hugging Face download for the model weights super fast. All of this is currently running on the DGX Spark. So you probably were noticing some choppiness in my bandwidth earlier, and I just realized that if it's downloading the models in the background, all my bandwidth is being eaten up because I'm uploading a whole ton of video from like 4 or 5 different feeds here, including vertical video. Plus, I'm downloading all of those model weights, and it's like doing it in a way with my script. So it's using up all of the actual bandwidth and every single thread that's possible on my modem. So yeah, you may have seen a lot of stuff cutting out. So I just realized that that was probably one of my problems there earlier. So that's what's up. So yeah, that's there are many people trying the CLI workaround, exploring other options. Yeah, it should work. Let me know if it's not working for the CLI. We needed a OMyStream repo. Yeah, so I'm actually trying to get the founders of them, Bellman and Sigrid. And those folks, like Sigrid is actually one of the ambassadors. So he actually is one of the folks who spend a lot of time using it. And that's what he used to convert the entire Claude Code repo in 2 hours. So that's coming up next. I'm going to sit down with him. I'm going to just have him show me what he's doing. He's the one that suggested CMUX, and that's why I downloaded CMUX. And so that now that this is going, it's going to just basically do the setup command for... so the model is already downloaded at 100 megabits per second. The shard is 12%. And the Docker layers are all downloaded and extracting. Cool. So this is doing its thing here. Wow. Cool. Let me go ahead and see what's going on over here with my plan. So for those who aren't familiar, we're doing this thing called watch claws so that I can watch all my different OpenClaws and all the different Claude code sessions and everything all through my Apple Watch, but it's going to be available through other interfaces. And we have created a planning artifact. So now that we have this here, it says plan completed and the consensus is in direct mode. So now we have the web proving path, the key implementation improvements, added a contradiction layer ledger for the spec prototype mismatches, and tightened the acceptance round. So transport decision evidence, normalized data, API mapping. And so the verification is going to be consensus artifacts exist under plans, PRD test specs, misreferences. Okay, so now recommended next handoff when you want to execute. So let's just do this handoff now. So I want to see what this looks like right now. So it says RALF, OMX, plans, PRD, watch clause. Let's just see what their plan looks like underneath the hood before my entire system gets kind of clobbered, if you know what I mean. So I have this here. Let me go into new window. Let me go to watch clause. And here I have OMX. I think I have plans. And in my plans, I have the PRD. So here it is. This is this is basically what OMyCodex wrote. So the current watch clause repo has a detailed product spec in the HTML interaction prototype, but the repo itself is only a placeholder scaffold today. And it's telling it its goal is to create an execution-ready proving path for Codex watch clause HTTP API and a web UI CLI-oriented consumer. So here's the non-goals for it. The inputs are all here. The current scaffold and target architecture, the proving path, the scope, and the protocol assumed ledger. So this is kind of what we're assuming. API contract, unresolved, contradiction ledger, and the required outputs. And here's the RALF handoff conditions. The code. This is really simple stuff. Not simple, but I mean like, very clear. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. So now we're going to RALF this thing. So this is just using my Codex plan, and I'm curious to see what's going to kick off. Yeah. Oh, you got an M3 Studio Ultra. Did you get the 512 gigs before they cut you off? I'm really curious. June. Well, June's going to be faster because I heard that if they do announce the new M5 Ultra, that probably may ship in December, maybe next year. So we'll see. So right now, we're basically doing the RALF loop, and it's just going to go through. And what is it doing right now? So this is the loop. It's just a simple bash loop. When I say simple, it's not really that simple, but yeah. Agent tiers MD not found. I think I did this correctly, right? Because this is kind of what it walked. Did I do teams? Oh, shoot. Was I supposed to do teams? So team execute the plan if the approved plan in parallel. Oh, approve ensure the safest implementation path then. Okay. Should I have done team? Okay, now I'll just do this first pass by itself without the team. Research, primary evidence. I'm kind of curious. And coordinated agents on a shared task list using CMUX based. I think I'm going to wait on that because in this first pass, I kind of want to see what one of them does, if you know what I mean. So like, I'm not ready to go like super ham yet. I just want to see like what's the output of one of these types of things, if you know what I mean. So yeah, Hermes is the best. I like this over OpenClaw. Yeah, so I'm going to make a dedicated video because I don't want to leak any codes and stuff when I do the Hermes setup here. Just so there's more secure API support. What model are you using? I like Codex. So Claude says you should do Quen 3.5, 122B, 10B at Q4. That'd be cool. Yeah, man. Okay. It's wild ass times. Yes, but it was buffering for me, but better now. Okay, cool. So here it is reading my spec file, and it's using Exa to go search the sessions directory to pull the information for how a Codex session should be used so they can make my little watch clause app. Okay, cool. So while that's running, let's go ahead and check up on my other cursor stuff here. So let me go close this one. All right, so Gemma model is still being downloaded. So the Docker image is complete. The model downloads at 65% with 3 minutes remaining. Let me wait for it to finish. So now we're just waiting. So it's waiting 3 minutes for the shell. That's awesome. Cool. So the Gemma MOE setup is here. Let's just take a look and see what's going on here. So we have the model. We're using the 26B on my Spark. It's going to be 25 billion parameters, 3.8 billion for the active parameters for the token, because that's using the mixture of experts. This is why we're using this model. And so we're just going to download the model weights if not already cached. We're going to use 16 different things. Launch the server. We're going to check that everything works and then serve the files. So, okay, this is pretty cool. Background running. Docker run. Oh, he's using a Docker container. So Gemma 4 CU 130. Okay, cool. Docker stop. Files on the Spark. Try 10 attention handling for heterogeneous head dimensions. Cool. So In terms of token per second, so the GLM 4.7 Flash and the Gemma should be nearly the same. GPQA Diamond, built-in grammar Gemma 4 parser. Okay, cool. All right, let's see what's going on. All files verified. Perfect. Nice. I asked Claude specifically about your use case at Spark with the Hermes OpenClaw and said you should go with NemoClaw and either Nemotron or Quinn. I mean, I don't see why not. Yeah. The crazy part is the AI landscape totally different at that point. Okay, what's going on? Let's see. Container started. Let me monitor the startup logs. VLLM takes a couple minutes. Okay. Wow. Awesome. So the Gemma model is almost set up on my Spark. And when I say almost, I mean like I'm not even doing the setup. I'm just kind of letting the agents do its own thing. Do that thing. Do that thing for me. All right, cool. I think it's kind of crazy how I also have the vertical video. I want to see what this looks like on YouTube, so I'm going to see if I can find it. Let's see, Ray Fernando. So it should be live. Cool. They have locked. Okay. Oh, that's cool. So I do have a phone version. They have. Is it live? Yes, I'm live right now. Oh, this is pretty sweet. Right, so Gemma model is still being downloaded, so the Docker image is complete. I'm a little bit behind. This is awesome. Yo, this is so cool. This looks awesome. I can read the text. Oh, okay. Now I see what's going on. Okay. So I can pull this across a little bit further then, maybe? Or why is it not showing me the rest? Oh, okay. That's why. My bad. My bad, folks. I just want to make sure I get the whole screen set up. Okay. So now I should be able to get everything here working. Okay. Perfect. Okay. This is cool. Yeah, I have the vertical video going and I was adjusting the little screen for that. And that's kind of what was going on there. Been meaning to try Gemma. Yeah, for sure. 31B should be slower because of 122B isn't active and 10. Yeah, for sure. I burned through like $80 setting up my multi-bot Discord setup. Oh man, that sucks, dude. Just use this CLI. So the model's loading, safe tensor shards being read, Triton attention active. So my Spark is working. Let's see. Wait for the model completion. All right. So I'm curious. I want to see it do the thing. Waiting for the model. Okay, so we're just waiting for the model to load. And I want to check up and see what's going on with my over here in like whatever's going on with OMyCodex. So let's see what's going on here. All right. So in here, it's basically RALF looping right now. So it's going through the spec roadmap, spec verification. So now it's basically, it's reading a skill, starting MCP servers, OMX team run. Okay. Oh, it's going to run the teams for me. Oh, that's cool. Awesome. Okay. So, whoa. Can I see the teams? I want to see the teams. How do I split down? Okay, no. Yeah. What am I coding? I'll show you what I'm coding. It's going to be epic. So the thing that we're making right now is this thing called watch clause. And this will basically allow you to watch your OpenClaws. It's so laggy right now. I'm so sorry. Let's see. Where are we? Yeah. So this is the thing that we're cooking. I'll show you real quick. Let me see if I can show you right here. Is it this one? Spec v2. Yeah, this is what we're making. So this will allow you to basically talk to your any of your sessions that you're working with, whether it's Codex or whatever, and steer them in any direction you want. And then when you go into here, you could just say, hey, can you make sure like this is happening, whatever. So it'll spawn off a session. And then you just basically would just talk through this thing here. And then if you want to change the repo, just tap it. And then, hey, make sure that make no mistakes or whatever like that. So that's basically what you end up doing. And it'll just, kick that off. If you want to track the conversation and kind of what's going on, you can do that there. Just go into your sales bot and see what's going on with your sales bot. If you want to go check out and see what's going on with your OpenClaw and any code stuff that it's doing, because the whole point is to have one specific central interface. So because it works on the Apple Watch, it's going to work on your phone, it's going to work on your glasses, it's going to work on a menu, it's going to work pretty much anywhere you can have a device that's working, including some of this cool open source stuff, like on a Raspberry Pi. So I have this thing that has a display, a speaker, a microphone, and a mouse button. And so this thing, I could speak into it, and I have this little Raspberry Pi Sugar. So this little thing has a battery for it. And so I'll be able to like have this on my desk or something, and I can kind of scroll through and see what's going on. And in that interface here, basically it will be very similar to the Apple Watch app, but it'll just be this guy. So I can hit the little button to like turn on the microphone and do different things and track different projects. So I could say, hey, show me a list of the projects. And then it'll just like pop over to this view. So, right, when you only have one button, you're kind of limited, right? With the Apple Watch, you can do more tapping and touching. But like all of these types of things come from this interface here. So if I wanted to stop all of them, I could hit stop again to confirm. And so that's kind of the basis for this thing. And so I spent a lot of time working on the architecture for this, just to make sure I had the right approach and making sure that I can extend this out, not only by doing an Apple Watch app, but also making it work in reality glasses and pretty much everything that would come out in the future. And so let me see if I can refresh this. My computer is literally dying so hard right now, and I'm trying to see if I can make this work for y'all. But if you can't see this, but basically all of this can be done remotely. Let's see if I have the spec here. So yeah, I defined the whole spec, and it would basically work as kind of like a bridge thing that would run as a server. But it'll allow you to control anything that's running, like whether it's Codex, whether it's Claude Code, Cursor, Factory Droid, GitHub Copilot, anything that speaks over ACP. If you have reality glasses, it'll basically show you all that stuff too. So that's kind of what I'm working on. And I basically am playing around with this new thing called OMyCodex, because this became famous from the folks who actually were able to do a clean room copy of Claude Code in 2 hours using Python, which is absolutely bonkers. So part of that whole thing is kind of what they're doing here with the RALF loop, and kind of, making an architecture plan, sending this stuff off to a team, researching for you, and going to go ahead and implement all those different pieces. And so what's nice is I basically am able to do all that stuff headless without really being there on my machine. So it's currently working. It's using the My Codex plan. I just signed up for the Pro plan, and that's what's basically enabling me to burn as many tokens as I want. I think they have a very, very generous tier. And so that's kind of what we are doing now. It's currently running the team and doing some more research here for me on my behalf. And that's what's up. Love the idea of using Mythos with my Hermes Agent. That's going to be crazy. Yeah. Having a large code base to maintain, to have AI update the docs about the code base as you along. Any tips? Would you recommend RAG Vector? Oh man, that's a whole another topic. I feel like we were always just talking to that. Meta released a paper about this, and it's actually a really simple self-improving loop. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see, Meta. It's called the Meta Harness. Oh shoot, it's not loading. Meta Harness. It's this paper here. So I'll put you this paper. This is probably what you want. I mean, this is not what you want, but this is the theory, and this is coming. But this is a really good paper here. So it's called the end-to-end optimization of model harnesses. And where this works really well, and kind of what I was reading, I didn't get to actually implement it or do anything like here, but basically for very large code bases, there's a whole thing, and I almost call it like it has its own little Karpathy loop. So as it's doing tasks and evaluating things, it's just going to set this criteria for which it will do the evaluation and its effects on the code base. And so what's cool is like, let me see if I can kind of bring it down over here. There's a formula for this. So where is it here? So this is the basic loop, all in a nutshell. You have the input, which is what task you're doing. You have the LLM that you're doing as far as a measurement. You have something that's to do with proposing, and then something that's going to do the iterations, however many times. And so whenever you're doing an evaluation, like how many iterations are you going to do and how many, that's the first part of the loop. And then the nested loop is going to be the inference evaluation. So what it does here is going to inspect like prior harnesses, and the harness being like, what type of work that you're doing. I'm going to take a look at the score. So basically, you're basically looking at the what code base you're looking at, what specific code, what score, if there has been work that's been done before, and any other traces and so forth. So that's kind of what it's kind of doing here in this loop. And if H passes the evaluation, then it kind of moves on. It's true, and then it kind of be able to work with your thing. The reason why this is really interesting is because this will allow people to work with code bases, but then there's this relationship that happens with whenever you're making code and stuff that breaks. Part of what's happening right now with these models is the fact that models can't hold everything in their context. So you have to have like that either built in as a tool or your IDE or the harness of the agent has to kind of understand what has already happened before. And usually people try to codify that by like keeping track of them in like a JSON file, a database, and there's many types of things. So I thought this approach was really, really interesting for something like this. And somebody on my Discord just kind of made me aware of it. And I was like, yo, this is kind of genius, actually. It's a whole feedback loop for it. So yeah, this describes it in a lot of detail. And I don't know if that's actually going to actually answer your question, but some people are already working on this classification problem. And then there's different types of things that you want to do. So if you want to take a look at something that's really good, I would definitely take a look at Droid. They have an agent readiness. You can run Droid basically for free. You don't have to pay them money for tokens or anything like that. But this thing has an agent readiness report. So what it can do is you basically just run this / command, and this / command will basically check to see if your repo is actually ready for agents. And what's nice about this is basically it will check to make sure that you have, style validation, a build system, testing, documentation, like the right dev environment, code quality, observability, all this stuff. So if anything, you just go sign up for this. You can use your own keys if you want to. You don't have to use their stuff. And then you can have all this stuff kind of set up for you, which is very, very helpful because this is what agents actually need in this modern day world. For those who don't know, Factory AI, have previously sponsored some of my streams. I'm a huge believer of them since, way back. And I was like, more people need to know about this. But it's for a very good reason because they actually do amazing work. Obviously, using their stuff can be really costly if you're using them. But if you're having an enterprise or someone that pays for your plan, I mean, you can even bring your own keys to this as well, which is amazing. So people have actually wrote their own proxies. My friend Coriolis says I made a proxy here called EasyProx. And so if you haven't had a chance to see this will allow you to run like all of the missions and stuff. If you already have a Claude Code plan and you already have a Codex plan, you can basically pipe them in using the EasyProx. And so this will allow you to basically use all of your plans, whether you have a GitHub pilot plan, an anti-gravity plan or whatever, and feed them into the proxy. And this will allow you to use Droid like missions without paying like that $200 a month that you would normally pay and run out of tokens. So might as well use something like that. But yeah, once you have the agent readiness report already set up in your repo and already working, this will tell you where you need to do in your code. So that way you can start to leverage the best of your prompts. So as far as working with a large repo, I would highly recommend something like Droid. If you're going to be taking a look at things, start with your planning and start to basically make sure that everything's kind of ready for agents to work through your code. Because you can get a lot of signal already from the automated coding effects just by popping this in. And then running this type of report. So yeah, Factory AI, definitely something to check out. Meta is already working on something like this already with the Meta harness. So this is something that is ongoing. Obviously, there's no product that's available. It's just a paper. And let's see, they have an interactive. They do have a GitHub. Yay. I don't know if it's a product, but you can Meta harness T-bench artifact. Okay, that's it. Anthropic caching. Cool. Yeah, I mean, this is not like a product you can pick off the shelf right now and use today, and I have no clue how it can be implemented, but this is something I was just made aware of today. Droid Max plan with 200 tokens is enough for me. Yeah, I mean, you burn through these super duper fast. Yeah. Oh, did you toggle the extra usage, by the way? I'm really curious if you did that with your please help with CLI. Are you in the Discord? We got to get you in the Discord. Factory AI testing out the new model provider. Yeah, so I think what I'll do tomorrow is if you're in the Discord, because I got to head out pretty soon, is I'll do a dedicated session. So if you want to pop in the Discord in the next 5 minutes, here, use this link. And then after the stream, I'm just going to go live and then help anyone with the OpenClaw stuff. rfer.me/discord. So if you do this here, this link, https rfer.me/discord, get into the Discord. And after this live stream, I'm just going to pop in and just, we're going to try to get that CLI thing set up. So that way we can kind of debug the OpenClaw thing. Because I know a lot of people have a lot of questions right now. And I think that'll probably be the best way to do it if you're trying to get this stuff set up like literally right now. That way you're not left kind of hanging. And I think that's going to be the best way to do that. So yeah, let me just check up and see what's going on with this plan. So yeah, I have my RALF loop going. My agents are currently working in my little CMUX session here up above. And this is kind of what's going on there with my watch clause. And we're going to get that going there. Okay, that's really cool. And so the next thing is that we also have the model. So the Gemma 4 model is now set up in my DGX Spark. So here's the endpoint. Just hit me a local host, bro. So we have the model weights. We pulled the official VLLM one. We stopped the Atlas container, which had the Quen model in there. And now we launched the Gemma 4 with the FP8 KV cache. Chunk prefilled caching, perfect. We verified that there's 23 tokens a second. So that's what I'm getting currently on my Spark right now. 273K token KV cache, 21 gigabyte headroom. The T5 flag doesn't exist. That was misinformation. Okay, so now it takes image format, not comma separated, transformers. Okay, to switch back to GLM Quen, I just have to do this type of thing. Okay, start Atlas. Perfect. Cool. Can you update some of the documentation in the project so that way we can have that for reference in the future? Perfect. Awesome. By the way, Gemma pronounces like Gemma. Oh, Gemma with a J. As next letter E-I-Y like gentle Jim. Oh, Gemma. Like Gemma? Wait, hold on. I'm so bad. The dyslexia thing is getting me right now. Hold on. Gemma. J? Gemma. As next letter E-I-Y like gentle Jim. Gemma? Gemma? J-E-M-M-A? Gemma. Not Gemma, like Ge. It's Gemma, J, Gemma. Okay, cool. I haven't benchmarked it other than asking Hermes to do an A/B models for me. Okay, cool. Yeah, so, okay. As of right now, what we have going on is if you want to go ahead and get if you're having trouble getting this command configured with your OpenClaw, get in the Discord right now. If you haven't had a chance to sign up for the Discord, I'm going to pop in for the next like 30 minutes and I'm just going to go on the live there. And we're going to try to work out and see like who's having trouble getting the CLI set up. I want to get this set up for myself right now because I'm currently paying for the usage because I have the extra usage enabled. And I currently have a $200 Claude Code plan. And so I want to get this set up so that way we can get this set up together. And I don't want to leak any keys on my live stream. So that's kind of why I want to do on the Discord. So yeah, sign up for the Discord if you haven't had a chance to. Make sure, I think https://rfer.me/discord. And I actually have that pinned as well. So pop into the Discord and then I'm going to pop into the video stream there. And we're going to try to work that out right now because that's probably the best way to do it. This, as of now, basically Claude subscriptions are no longer covering third-party tools like OpenClaw. So yeah, basically you just have to log in via extra usage bundles like he was saying, or use the API key. But technically you can use the CLI so that we don't have to use our extra usage. We could just use our existing plan. And so that'll be what's up. So curious if you're familiar with automation deployment workflows, pairing AI with CI/CD. You know, I haven't done this for a while with AI, basically building my own stuff out right now. So I don't have enough information to like publicly talk about it, if you know what I mean. I mean, I could stumble my way through it, but I don't think there'd be a lot of value right now. OpenAI seems to be much better for OpenClaw switch. Oh, that'd be cool. That's interesting. There's a Discord. Yes, there's a Discord if you want to go ahead and sign up. I think I put the link in the chat. rfer.me/discord. I'm just like keep pumping the link. So that's the link down there. So yeah, if you click that link, you'll be able to join the Discord and we're going to go ahead and try to walk through this right now and get this set up on the Discord right now. So Okay, cool. The thing for the droid was the readiness report /readiness-report. So if you just type in readiness report factory droid, then you'll also be able to see this on Google like I did there. And that's what's up. So I did talk about the Claude Code stuff. I actually have a couple live streams if you want to go back. And then I interviewed the two guys who flipped in 2 hours. They're able to do the whole Python rewrite of the clean Claude Code clean room implementation, which basically means they never even got to see the code. Their agents did it, and they used the thing called CMUX, which is or OMyCodex. And so with OMyCodex, that's how they were able to do it. And so in my implementation, I'm implementing it using a similar pattern here. That's what's currently running. I'm basically making my own. I'm not making a Claude Code app or anything like that. I'm making a viewer that I can see sessions. So like I can see your OpenClaw session. You can see your own Codex sessions, cursor sessions. I mean, I have all these subscriptions and they're always running on different machines in all these different places. So I want to have a way to actually see them from my Apple Watch. And so, yeah, my agents are pretty much in a RALF loop right now, trying to implement that for me as far as my idea. So I think that's going to be the best way. So make sure you get in the Discord right now. I'm gonna go ahead and pop in, take care of any folks who need some help with getting their OpenClaw set up, so that way you can get the CLI going and not have to pay for that extra usage. If you're already paying $200 a month for your Claude Code sub, it looks like you can use the method for the CLI, and I don't see why we can't do that. So that'll probably be the best way to get us going there. So Discord early access is part of the monthly sub. Not for I don't have a monthly. The Discord, everything is now managed through this link or the URL that I was providing. So that's basically it's through Polar. So you have to sign up through this link here. So as soon as you go to this link here, this is going to be where you're able to get into the Discord. So that's your best way to kind of get in there. So otherwise, it's not really linked up the other way. So that'd be the best way to get in there. So https://rfer.me/discord. Get signed up, get up in there, and you're going to be good. All right, folks. Cool. I will see you very soon. I'll see you in the Discord right now. We're going to go ahead and take care of some of the folks who had some issues and try to see if we can walk through this. This should get us working. It may require several gateway resets and stuff like that, but that way we can be, in our own private stream and not have to worry about leaking keys and stuff like that. All right, folks. I'll see you guys soon. Peace out, y'all.